beautiful town. Say that started the fire.
It says that she is a gaunt, black-haired glamour ghoul who comes out through ominous...
You're still afraid.
Stop it now, I mean it.
She hates, you know how people exaggerate.
They're coming to get you, Barbara.
Goes this with...
Stop it. You're
Barbara?
You need to get off this thing!
Come on, come on. It's time for the Ghost of Hollywood.
Hello out there, wall crawlers. I'm your host, Poxy Leonard, here with Miss Ragan, bringing you all sorts of entertainment for tonight's second episode of The Ghost of Hollywood, right here on KBOO 90.7 FM Portland.
We have returned with more cult, trash, and cinema written especially for you lovely souls, whoever you are. Somewhere out there probably feeling overworked, struggling to sleep, howling at the moon, or stressed out over pretty much anything that crosses your mind. Or maybe you like a film and you've actually cut out a segment from the time of your life so that Poxy and I can entertain you for the next 2 hours. We have prepared an arsenal of banter to dish out some cinematic history on Billy Wilder's 1950 noir classic Sunset Boulevard, starring the infamous Gloria Swanson with William Holden.
Oh, Sunset Boulevard. Finally. I love this film, especially at the end when Gloria Swanson drops the whole, Mr. DeMille, I'm ready for my close-up, while they're escorting her out of the house. I mean, maybe you don't see it, Reagan, but I always felt like Sunset Boulevard was something of the ultimate Twilight Zone episode.
But it's definitely not an episode of the Twilight Zone. It's like one of the greatest films of all time.
I mean, I feel what you're saying here for sure, Ray, but the narration and the tour de force of anxious discomfort and confusion throughout the film, especially the ending, always gave me an early Twilight Zone vibe.
Alright, I'll bait, but for all that, it probably would have held up on Hitchcock's Hour just as well. Plus, narration was part of Billy Wilder's game. It's definitely not unique to Sunset Boulevard. I mean, come on, Poxy. For someone who adores a movie like Ace in the Hole, I'm surprised by what you find enigmatic about Sunset Boulevard.
Touché. I guess it's because Sunset Boulevard really resonated with me when it came to Wilder and Brackett's work. Plus, it's about old Hollywood, and from our perspective, it's the golden age presenting the silent age. Plus, Wilder was Austrian and worked on film in Europe prior to the Nazi takeover of Germany, where he left and started picking up time in Hollywood. So, I just feel like there's a lot going on. I don't know, I could roll the same dice if we were talking about something like Hot or Double Indemnity. You know, it's funny you mention Ace in the Hole, too. I just thought it was so well written and performed. Kirk Douglas seldom failed to fulfill a role, in my opinion. I mean, I'll follow Lust for Life as a quick example, because I felt like he did well in that film also. But regardless of all this, Ace in the Hole was still a considerable financial failure for Wilder.
Yeah, but we're really going beyond the breakup between he and his writing partner, Charles Brackett, if we discuss Ace in the Hole. Plus, we've already gone on for way too long about tonight's film already.
Anyway, early, late, whatever. I'll leave it up to you. All of you out there facing the days in different ways. Stay tuned because Rain and I have plenty more for you on Billy Wilder's. Billy Wilder's. I think I got the name out right the second time.
Yeah.
1950 classic Sunset Boulevard. You are listening to The Ghost of Hollywood, brought to you especially by KBOO Community Radio on 90.7 FM and Electric Garden Studio in Portland, Oregon. The Ghost of Hollywood is also available on all streaming platforms, so please like and subscribe to keep the show moving as we gear up for our second season this coming fall.
And if you still can't get enough, follow us on Instagram or check us out on KBOO.FM for all of the latest information and updates on the show. You can also tune in live on KBOO.FM bi-weekly from 3 a.m. to 5:30 a.m. to catch us on the air in real time.
Stay tuned because you're listening to The Ghost of Hollywood, live from the Electric Garden Studio in Portland, Oregon.
All right, Mr. DeMille, I'm ready for my close-up.
It's time for our new segment of Capsule Review, discussing all things Sunset Boulevard, right here on the Coast of Hollywood at KPOO 90.7 FM Portland. I'm your host, Poxy Leonard, here with Miss Ragan.
Thanks, Poxy. You know, I'm kind of nervous about this episode.
How come?
I feel like it's going to take some precision for us to effectively go over the history of Sunset Boulevard. I keep thinking of an approach that'll sort of blanket the film without overlooking so many essential components that make it as exceptional as everyone knows it to be.
Interesting fact before I jump off into the synopsis for our lovely sleep-deprived listeners out there.
Shoot.
All right. I read that after Wilder screened the film at Varsity Theater in Illinois, people heckled the opening pretty hard. So we decided to remove scenes that were apparently shot inside of a morgue and kicked off with the shots of Gillis floating dead at the pool.
I wonder if they were really that bad.
I bet you can watch them somewhere, but I never really endeavored too heavily into it. Probably wouldn't have killed me to dig around a bit before working on this program, but my magic smoking lamp got in the way again.
Maybe we should call our show The Ghost of Hollyweed, because that's like your favorite excuse.
Oh, well, you ever see those old photos, actually, where someone altered the Hollywood sign on Mount Lee back in 76 so it would read Hollyweed?
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. That thing has been altered so many times over the years.
Yeah, but the Hollyweed sign was like way more entertaining than, say, one like Go Navy or Caltech.
Whatever, that sign is creepy. We could write an entire episode around that itself.
Yeah, favorite Hollywood sign story. Go.
Are we really doing this right now? You just want to talk about the Alice Cooper paid $27K for to honor Groucho Marx.
I love that story.
Yeah, it was great when you told me the first 25,000 times.
Fine, on with the show. The original Hollywood land sign saw an adjustment to the word Hollywood in 1949, which was the year before Wilder would drop his final blockbuster hit collaboration with longtime partner Charles Brackett.
It wasn't his final.
Well, no, I know, but by far not his final successful film. I'm talking about his final collaboration with Brackett. And speaking of Charles Brackett, we're starting to break into the background surrounding the development of Sunset Boulevard. For those of you out there playing along with us at this odd hour, Sunset Boulevard is a film that begins at the end. The main character, Joe Gillis, played by William Holden, who is probably best known for his Oscar-winning role in Wilder's Stalag 17.
King of the Black Market.
That's right. Anyway, Gillis is found floating dead in a swimming pool at a mansion on Sunset Boulevard. And from there, things trail back through that time and tell us the story of Norma Desmond, which is the role that would bring Gloria Swanson back to the screen as a deranged silent film has-been who is self-obsessed and disillusioned with the idea that she has developed a script that will revitalize her flailing acting career.
Of course, Joe Gillis shows up after fleeing from the police, and he's on the ripe side of rejection from his screenplay he submitted to Paramount. So this off-the-wall push-and-pull relationship between he and Norma begins and eventually erupts into chaos after Gillis tries to purge himself of the film star.
That's when things get interesting for sure, but we can't spoil it entirely here, can we?
I mean, what makes Sunset Boulevard such an incredibly good film is that it encapsulates so many different facets of an ever-changing Hollywood. Swanson really was a silent film star, like a huge one. One of her first on-screen appearances was in his new job as an extra behind Chaplin.
Oh yeah, she starred with Valentino in Beyond the Rocks, too.
I've never seen Beyond the Rocks.
If you can sit through a 2-hour silent film, well...
Don't lie, Poxy. You have never seen Beyond the Rocks.
Yes, I have.
Mm-hmm.
Fine. I haven't seen it, but I've read about it, okay?
I hear ya. There are a lot of well-known faces in Sunset Boulevard. Well, they're well-known then at least. It's almost eerie how Wilder was able to actually incorporate a cameo role for people like Buster Keaton and Cecil DeMille in the movie. And then there is a very young Nancy Olson who plays Betty Schaefer, which is the woman Gillis falls in love with in the film.
You know that she was in The Absent-Minded Professor?
Never seen it.
Basically the OG Flubber. She was actually in Son of Flubber, too.
I know that she and Swanson both appeared in Airport 1975.
Yeah, Swanson plays herself in that film, though, and it's her final on-screen appearance, actually. Alright, look, we could go on about Gloria Swanson all day, but it's notable that Wilder had other people in mind when casting the role of Norma Desmond.
You know where the name Norma Desmond comes from, right?
Yeah, I've heard the old legend about it having something to do with Norma Talmadge, but I ain't buying it.
Alright, well, I know we were talking about how Wilder visited with Mary Pickford after considering her for the role, but he decided it probably wasn't going to work out and left without asking her.
Yeah, I think Mae West and Greta Garbo also shot the role down, but don't hold me to it. Hell, it took George Cukor suggesting Swanson for the role, and then things get strange because they cast Eric von Stroheim to play her servant Max.
What's so strange about Stroheim?
Alright, time for a short story on the notorious silent film, Queen Kelly.
Okay, let's hear it.
This one gets wild, you ready?
I'm ready.
Alright, so, Joe Kennedy becomes Gloria Swanson's financial advisor and wants to help Gloria Swanson make films, right?
Like the Joe Kennedy?
Yeah, and anyone out there who knows what I'm about to tell you is wearing a grimace on their face.
Ooh, juicy stuff right here, yeah?
So, yeah, Kennedy hires Stroheim to direct the picture Queen Kelly, right? Starring Gloria Swanson. Around this time, Kennedy is also basically managing her finances, and the two are having an ongoing affair that comes to a head during this disastrous production. Stroheim goes overboard and over budget. Swanson gets cold feet and abandons the project. They fire Stroheim and try to salvage the rest of the film since they've dumped a pile of money into it.
I'm listening.
Okay, well, in order to salvage the film, they have no other than Greg Toland.
Oh, not your homeboy Toland.
That's right, my homeboy Toland. They bring him in to shoot the European ending to the film. Like, no one sees this thing for some 50-odd years until after it's made, right? Swanson said that when Wilder cast Stroheim, who was in decline, as she was at the time, the two worked delightedly together and never even once talked about Queen Kelly.
What a mess.
Well, hang on a second. Here, let me play this interview with Gloria Swanson that took place sometime in the mid-60s. She pretty much lays out everything I tried to get out in here, and just more effectively.
All right, I could use a break for a minute. Let's hear it.
And off we go. Roll the clip.
I can only say that I found it easy to work with him. You know, some directors are thwarted actors, and they like you to impersonate them instead of giving your idea of a role. Now, DeMille, for instance, Cecil DeMille would say to an actor, well, I've hired you to act, so act. And if you're good, that's fine. If you're bad, I'll tell you you're bad. Now, another director by the name of D.W. Griffith, you could always tell when an actor had worked for Mr. Griffith because they had mannerisms like Mr. Griffith. You didn't even have to see his name on the screen, and you would know that that person had worked with Mr. Griffith. Now, von Stroheim was not like that. He was, I would say, more like DeMille, very intense man, but nevertheless, he didn't try to show you how a scene should be done and then you try to give a bad impersonation of him. He would have been rather funny, you know, trying to show me how to play a convent girl. As a matter of fact, that might have been very amusing. Queen Kelly is not a finished picture. The only thing that was rather difficult at the time was that he was taking longer to do 1/3 of the picture. Of course, pictures have budgets, and that means a certain length of months to shoot a picture and a certain amount of money to spend. And when we had finished with the first half of the script, not the first half, the first third of the script, we then had 20,000 feet. We could have made 4 or 5 pictures out of it. So we started to get a little worried that we had so much film and we'd only shot 1/3 of the script. And we already were starting into about $600,000, which was a lot of money. And if we had continued at that pace and that amount of filming, most of it would have been on the cutting room floor. And then we would have had to spend maybe $1.5 million to finish the picture. So time-wise, we were behind. We had a lot of film which we didn't need, which would never see the light of day on the screen. And so when we came now to a very important point in the story, where up to this time I had played a convent girl. And when the little convent girl leaves this imaginary kingdom, she is supposed to inherit, her aunt is sick, and she is in Africa somewhere. I don't remember what part it was supposed to be in Africa, but I go there as a convent girl, and in the script it was a dance hall place that my aunt was running, and I take over. Well, there's nothing much you could do in the kingdom that would be censorable with a convent girl, but when you get down to a dance hall establishment, well, you can make it look like it isn't a dance hall, but perhaps something else, which would be censorable. And this is what happened exactly so that I looked not as much like a proprietress of a dance hall as I did, well, we didn't even get into that part. I happened to become worried about what was being shot, and since the two people that were being put in charge didn't seem to have any control over the situation, I walked off the set one morning after it was very early in the morning, and I had just had a cup of tea for breakfast, and one of the characters had to drool tobacco juice, I don't know how you're ever going to say this in French, on my hand, and I felt a little squirmish, and I also knew that it would probably be not in the picture, so I walked off the set, excused myself, and went to the dressing room, my bungalow, where I lived actually, and called New York and called the bankers and said, I think you'd better come out here because I'm worried. Much of the stuff that we're making in this dance hall, quote, question mark, I think is censorable, and the Will Hayes office will never allow us to show it. And not only that, but we have 20,000 feet for the first third of the picture, and if we continue like this, we're going to be all year, and it's going to cost more than I wish to be responsible for. So, like that, the bankers were there. They didn't have jets in those days, but they were there before I knew it, as if they'd come by their own kites or their own steam. And so as a matter of fact, I never saw von Stroheim from that day until actually we were making Sunset Boulevard. Actually, face-to-face with Erich von Stroheim was when I did Sunset Boulevard. And we never spoke of Queen Kelly. In the whole 3 months that we were making Sunset Boulevard, I don't think we ever mentioned it to each other. We were glad to see one another. He, meantime, had various interesting things happening to him, as I had. In an artist's career, you have your cycles of being everything going right, and then everything going wrong. I had been through this when I did Sunset Boulevard. My career seemed to be over. He, too, had gone through this as a director, but he had done something as an actor. And so when we met, we were very pleased to see each other, and it was a tremendous experience to work with him as an actor. When we started Sunset Boulevard, we didn't have a finished script. And so many suggestions were made, and von Stroheim, who couldn't help himself, he was creative, he made suggestions, and I can remember Billy Wilder saying, oh, that's wonderful, but it doesn't further the story, and we don't have the footage for it. But he came up with one. He came up with a magnificent idea that the fan mail that was sent to me, if you will recall, I thought was fan mail. He was writing them. This was von Stroheim's idea. And this was a magnificent idea. It was wonderful. We had nice times on the set, and I have wonderful recollections. And then after the picture, I met him here in France, you know. We even talked about doing something about Queen Kelly, making a new story around it, seeing if we couldn't save this beautiful material, which he had done where I was a convent girl. But unfortunately, I lived in America, he lived here, and then he left us.
Wild stuff, yeah?
No doubt, but let's talk about William Holden for a second.
I'm game. You know, his casting was sort of unique as well. Like, initially, Montgomery Clift was supposed to take the role of Gillis, but he was mixed up in an affair with Libby Holman, and became weary the subject of the film might bring their current, let's say, endeavors to light, and tarnish that lovely career of his.
What a weenie.
Well, hey, this was right there at the end of the Star Syndicate days, and Hollywood covered up any scandal it was able to before the public caught wind of it, you know?
Yeah, I read some of the oddball morality clauses and stuff wrapped into the earlier studio contracts. But before we drift away, let's get back to William Holden. When he took the role after Cliff jumped ship, he had just returned from World War II and was still getting back credit in his acting career.
He sure was, and they ripped his salary over it, which came to light after it was sized up to Cliff's contract later on.
That's the name of the game, yeah?
For financial disasters concerning up-and-coming actors, I suggest checking out the glossary next to the film Problem Child.
What happened in Problem Child?
The kid that played Junior basically had his contract nullified after his mother asked for more money, and, well, that backfired.
Rough. Well, let's get ready to take a break for a much-needed jam session. But first I want to play this clip of Wilder discussing just how ideal he felt the cast for Sunset Boulevard really was.
Nice, let's hear it.
Roll the clip.
We were just extremely lucky. This was a picture where everything sort of kind of fell into my lap. I needed the Paramount studio where we were shooting at Paramount. We got the permission. I needed the Mill to play the Mill, and he played it. I needed somebody to play the Stroheim part, who at one time had been a director and had made a picture with Gloria Swanson, and indeed we found that old picture that he had directed with her, Queen Kelly. We needed old faces, and we got Mr. Warner, who played Jesus, and we got Buster Keaton. You know, everything sort of kind of fell into our lap. Everything was just right. Stroheim, you know, I had that experience with Stroheim. You know, I'd never met him before in my life, and I clicked my heels, knowing and I said, "My name is Wilder," and he says, "How are you?" And in order to kind of make him feel good, I said, "Who would have ever thought that little Wilder is going to direct big Stroheim?" And he just sort of barked to me a little bit. Then I said, "You know, your problem always was, Eric, was you were always 10 years ahead of your time." And he looks at me and he says, 20. That was it.
I read this story that when Louis B. Mayer saw the film, he was outraged at Wilder's depiction of Hollywood.
What'd Wilder say?
And he was pretty forward. Let's see. And to quote Billy Wilder, "Go f*** yourself, Louis," was the response, I believe.
Oh, Louis B. Mayer, that guy was something else.
Yeah, his depiction in the film Judy that came out last year was pretty daunting. Definitely one of those old studio monsters we've all read too much about from the Hollywood Babylon days.
And speaking of which, you're listening to The Ghost of Hollywood with yours truly, Miss Ragan and Poxy Leonard, right here on KBOO 90.7 FM. Don't turn that down, because we'll be right back with plenty more on Sunset Boulevard shortly. But now it's time to wake everyone up
What's up, wall crawlers? Can't get enough of The Ghost of Hollywood? Then check out our website at theghostofhollywoodpodcast.com for complete access to our entire first season, featuring movies such as Class of 99, Polyester, Trancers, Space Avenger, Children of the Corn, Tough Turf, and more. Each episode is packed with all kinds of great film history told by the movie makers themselves, so be sure to check it out now.
Local to Portland, listen in late night from 3 to 5:30 a.m. every other Friday on KBOO 90.7 FM Portland, or stream the show live from the station's website at kboo.fm. Stay tuned, because we'll be back with more from The Ghost of Hollywood.
Welcome back to The Ghost of Hollywood on KBOO 90.7 FM Portland. I'm your host, Poxy Leonard, here with Miss Ragan, and we've been gabbing back and forth about Billy Wilder's 1950 noir classic, Sunset Boulevard.
That's right, Poxy, and before the break we were talking about the cats of Sunset Boulevard, but we're limited on time and we'd fail miserably if we didn't bring up Charles Brackett in the writing process.
Alright, let's do it then. I feel like I need to set up the scenario first, though. At least the best I can explain it. So, Brackett and Wilder were both writers at Paramount during the time that they were paired up to write Bluebeard's Eighth Wife, and they became one of Hollywood's writing dream teams of the 1940s, despite the fact that they were the equivalent to pairing Ronald Reagan up with Hunter S. Thompson from like a social perspective.
Well, that's what makes Sunset Boulevard exceptional, is that it provides the final breakdown in their working and personal relationship. Things had always been tense between the two of them anyhow, which is kind of their approach sometimes.
You know, I've read a lot of Brackett's journal entries that explain his time with Wilder, and he seemed to feel like Sunset Boulevard was an attack on Hollywood in the same way that many people saw it did. But he and Wilder underscored each other in heavy bouts of jealousy concerning projects. You know, they weren't working together on it at the same time. And despite the mudslinging, they both went pretty hard unnecessarily.
They were good friends too. In reading his journals, I always thought Brackett hated how things came to a close. He seemed to miss working with Wilder, even though things were a little crazy. I think he appreciated Wilder's work ethic, but what intrigued him about Wilder also seemed to bore him all at the same time.
Well, things came to a close between them around the same time that Sunset Boulevard was put together. And Wilder was like moving up in the Hollywood circuit, and Brackett kind of seemed to be outmoded. And this is largely what you pick up in reading Charles Brackett's thoughts on the matter. His wife had just died too, so there was some shakeup there.
You know Charles Brackett married his wife's sister after she died?
No, but that's sort of bizarre. I mean, not to imply anything, but, that move is always kind of suspicious.
Make you look in the back seat of life a little bit there, yeah?
Yeah, I mean, that's a damn good way to put it. But anyway, Brackett and Wilder were literally in motion for separation. I mean, they had to make concessions for office, employees, all sorts of stuff. And they still had to finish Sunset Boulevard together.
Let me implement a point about the film here that is impossible to deny after you've seen it. There is a strain the past places on holding the future from becoming. And both Brackett and Wilder immortalize that in the script.
Wilder outgrew him, and they both knew that. You get the same picture with Gillis trying to pull away from the Norma Desmond character, while feeling some sort of sense of demise in his own character, Historically, the events surrounding the writing and working relationship between Brackett and Wilder makes Sunset Boulevard incredibly surreal.
So let's talk production for a second here, because there's a lot to go over. It's well known Sunset Boulevard was shot in black and white specifically to achieve the effect of noir film. John Saitz was a cinematographer who worked on the film and was nominated for Academy Awards for Sunset Boulevard and Lost Weekend, which is another great film written by Brackett and Wilder.
Yeah, John Saitz is a pretty interesting person to read about because he was also an inventor and he made his rise running the camera filming Valentino in Four Horsemen.
Valentino strikes the script page again.
Oh, that he does. So check it. Saitz got out of the picture industry and started working on various photographic inventions, patenting most of them and taking the cake for developing what is now well known as the matte shot, which is when a background scene, and back then they were painted, but it's added to the pre-existing shot.
He comes into play on Sunset Boulevard because of his low lighting techniques that worked the noir aesthetic incredibly well, but the scene of Gillis floating in the pool is shot from a mirror image and the police are used as a backdrop. I wonder if what you're talking about with Saitz plays into all this.
I don't know, but they had a hell of a time working that scene out. Like they initially sunk the camera under the water in some contraption that was built, and Wilder didn't like how it worked out, so they didn't use the shot.
Well, with the pool on the docket, yeah, we gotta talk about the pool now.
Alright, yeah, so the pool plays a part here. Anyway, first, let's back up to the house for a second. The mansion used for the film was actually located on South Irving Boulevard and was razed in 1957. But during the time it stood, it mostly remained vacant, and when ownership changed to Paul Getty, it saw a couple of film productions come through.
So, obviously, the majority of the interior shots weren't done in the house, at least to my knowledge. But the pool Gillis is floating in at the beginning and the end was built by Paramount after Getty's ex-wife, who received the home as part of their divorce settlement, allowed the home for use in movies. Check it though.
What's up?
She also had it agreed upon that if she didn't like the pool, they would remove it. But even though it wasn't built to actually function as anything more than a prop, the next time it showed up on screen, it was empty in the James Dean classic, Rebel Without a Cause.
As I said before, you can't visit a house since it was razed to make way for Getty office space or something like that in 1957. But there are some other notable filming locations in Sunset Boulevard, especially worth mentioning is Paramount Studios itself, because they were pretty cool with the studio and using the name in the film. And there's also Stage 18, where DeMille was working on the set of... Damn, what's the name of that film? Anyway, when they shot the scenes with he and Desmond.
Apparently Perino shows up somewhere in the film too, or at least the original location or something was nearby. When I was reading Brackett's journal, I swear he mentioned eating there somewhat frequently.
Now you're schooling me, I don't know.
Who knows, maybe I've gotten something mixed up. We've read so much about these films, it all bleeds together after a while.
Yeah, but that's the fun part though, you know?
And you're here with Miss Ragan and Poxy Littard on the Ghost of Hollywood at KBOO 90.7 FM. Stay tuned.
We'll be back shortly. You are listening to The Ghost of Hollywood, brought to you especially by KBOO Community Radio on 90.7 FM and Electric Garden Studio in Portland, Oregon. The Ghost of Hollywood is also available on all streaming platforms, so please like and subscribe to keep the show moving as we gear up for our second season this coming fall.
And if you still can't get enough, follow us on Instagram or check us out on KBOO.FM for all of the latest information and updates on the show. You can also tune in live on KBOO.FM bi-weekly from 3 a.m. to 5:30 a.m. to catch us on the air in real time.
Stay tuned because you're listening to The Ghost of Hollywood, live from the Electric Garden Studio in Portland, Oregon.
If you're just joining us, Poxy and I have been discussing the 1950 noir classic Sunset Boulevard, starring Gloria Swanson and William Holden. A few minutes ago, before we took a break to spin a record, we had been talking a little bit about production and some of the filming locations used in Sunset Boulevard.
All right, that said, let's move and see what else we can uncover.
Let's see. You know, we were talking about the pool in Sunset Boulevard appearing in Rebel Without a Cause. Did you know that Norma Desmond's bed was the same one used in the 1925 Phantom of the Opera?
No, I didn't, but it's been a while since I've seen them film for sure.
Back to William Holden for a second, because I don't feel like we stressed it enough as to where he really was in his acting career when they made Sunset Boulevard.
Yeah, he was on the down and out for sure. I mean, like most of the cast was. I mentioned that Stroheim and Swanson were in the same situation we were discussing casting earlier on.
You did, but Sunset Boulevard really did act as a catalyst for Holden's career. I mean, he was floundering pretty hard beforehand.
Well, his marriage was on the rocks and he was a drunk, which, eventually kind of killed him.
How'd he die anyway?
Well, I read he had been drinking and fell hitting his head on a corner of a table after he slipped on a rug and he bled to death.
Wow, that's bizarre. Sort of like, what's his name in Maniac?
Oh yeah, Joe Spinell, but I don't think he was drinking, but he fell and cut himself on glass in the shower and bled to death. Holden actually killed someone in a car accident though while he was drinking and driving in Italy back in '66. So alcohol was definitely causing him serious problems.
Interesting to read about for sure. Holden got really into wildlife after acting and had safari clubs and game ranches in Kenya. After he died, there was actually a foundation set up for him called the William Holden Wildlife Foundation.
Well, I guess since it's sort of in the area with this subject now, I want to mention that I read a small interview that was conducted with Nancy Olson, who plays Betty in the film, the woman that Holden falls for towards the end. And this was back in April of the current year.
How old is she now?
Well, I believe she's 91, and she was the only surviving cast member for a while now. So, after Sunset Boulevard, she mentioned that she wanted out of the film industry, not too thrilled with the idea of fame at the time, right? And how that was complicated by the success of Sunset Boulevard. She also talks about how Holden made a pass on her Derek production, and even though that happened, they eventually developed a solid friendship over time.
I don't know how true this is, but I read that Wilder had Holden and Olsen hold their big kiss in the film for quite a while, and that his wife eventually became flustered and yelled, "Cut!"
That's hilarious. That's funny she's really on set.
Anyway, while Sunset Boulevard got Holden's career back on track, Swanson didn't get the revival she hoped for in her film acting career, but she stayed plenty busy. Let's check out this interview she had with Dick Cavett where she discusses her work in theater, and particularly on the production of Butterflies Are Free.
Yeah, this clip is pretty interesting because it actually includes an interaction with the infamous singer, Janis Joplin. And this would end up being Joplin's final television interview and performance as well, so it's even more essential than one is led to believe.
Alright, let's roll the clip.
Remember the line in Sunset Boulevard and Gloria Swanson said they don't make faces like that anymore? Here is a lovely lady, Miss Gloria Swanson. We didn't give you a long enough entrance to fill all the music.
Here's something for you that you can give to people as your card.
Please don't make a big fuss over me. Just treat me as you would any other brilliant person. You hang funny signs on your wall?
No, but...
Don't just sit there worry. I think there's one of those in my office. Why are you handing out cards, Miss Swanson?
Because I thought they were very amusing for you especially.
Well, you're very kind.
Like any other brilliant person.
Oh.
How do you do?
Silver-tongued devil, you.
I beg your pardon? What'd you say?
Said you were a silver-tongued devil.
No, those are not mine. Those are not mine. I wish they were. They were given to me, and I thought you might use them.
Thank you very much. Thank you for, you sent me a photograph of a sculpture you did. It was very nice.
Oh, yes, you got that.
Yeah. You're still after my features?
Yes, I am.
Yeah?
I want to do his head. Do you know what I mean by that?
Yes, I do.
Do his head is a little bit awkward, isn't it?
I don't know.
Do you think she knows what we mean by that?
I don't know what anyone's talking about.
Well, I must say
You people use your inside terms and they just go right over my head.
Mm-hmm. No,
Yeah,
I sent a photograph of a bust I made of myself, a head, with mirrors. And so I wanted to do his head. And it sounds so funny to say, I want to do your head.
I know it's...
Bust doesn't sound any better either. I want to do your bust.
Do your bust is no good either. I guess not. I would like to sculpt you, I think, is probably the best thing you can say.
That sounds odd, doesn't it?
Sounds a little blunt. Yeah. You have an announcement to make, or something I was told. I didn't know whether to mention it now or if you want to wait a little while, or
well, you can mention it now
bit.
if you want to mention it now. I'm quite excited.
Or we could build up some suspense.
Well, I think I'll do that anyway, build up some suspense. You know, I was going to do Coco, then I was going to do something else. And so, at long last, I'm really going to do a play. It's playing here in New York and also in Chicago. And also, I must look at this now because it's odd places. For instance, Turkey and Johannesburg, South Africa. It's playing at this very moment. And they're going to go from there into all kinds of places like Denmark and Argentina and Chile and Brazil and Mexico. So I'm going to do it this coming up in October.
Oh, you're not going to be in all those places. But
no,
the
I'm not going to, but I'm going to be all over the United States.
You're going to tour
yes,
in the old
I
sense.
Mm-hmm.
Gee, that's wonderful.
I think it's
People
exciting.
Can see
and the play is...
a star in the flesh.
It's so beautiful because it's one of those plays that everybody can see without embarrassment, because some people do get a little pink in the face at some of the plays, in which I can understand. And so this is one, obviously, for all languages and all people and all generations. And it's called Butterflies Are Beautiful. And it's quite, I think it's going to be a classic. It's quite lovely. Have you seen it?
No, I haven't. I don't know
you should.
thing about it.
You don't? It's been playing for quite some time.
I know, but I'm so behind on the theater scene.
Yes,
I just don't.
I can imagine so.
With this
Being
job,
here,
it's very
yes.
hard to get out to plays.
Well, it's about a blind boy, and it's very interesting. And I'm
Oh,
sure
wait.
some...
You don't mean butterflies are free?
Didn't I say that?
I think you said butterflies are beautiful.
Oh, I beg your pardon. Well, it is beautiful. Butterflies
They are
free.
beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And,
oh, yeah, I know that play. Yeah, they did very well.
Well,
and you're going to tour all over America.
Yes, they're still doing it, you know. They're still playing it here.
Did you ever do that? Did you ever tour the country in the old...
Well, I have done it in summer stock. Yes, I did do it in one or two things, like Three Curtains. I did 3 one-act plays. One was Shaw's Man of Destiny and James Barrie's Old Lady Shows Her Medals and Panera's Playgoers. I toured in that. And I've been around in many places, either with the picture, you know, a picture that I've done, or someone else's picture, or my clothes business, or whatever.
That's a nice announcement. I thought maybe you were going to announce you were getting married again. No, last time you were here, you revealed that you had been married 5 times.
Did I?
Yeah.
What a good memory you have. I don't.
You don't remember all 5 of them, huh?
No, as a matter of fact, you put them all together, and I don't think I was married more than 6 years.
Is that right? No. Are you optimistic or terribly romantic, or are you just a silly?
No. You know what I am? I'm a romanticist. I cannot stand to see anything to get into a rut. I don't care what it is. I'd be taken for granted. I can't stand this. And
That's
I think
certainly
it's
the enemy of marriage, a romantic idea.
Well, the end of it?
Sure. The enemy of marriage.
Oh, the enemy, yes.
Sure, because...
If you lose it and it becomes so, you know, like, I don't know, just dull. And I don't think this should be that. I think it should be the first thing that happens, I've often noticed that people who don't have children right away, they're inclined to have, I think, a longer marriage. And I know some couples that have no children whatsoever. Now, what happens is that they continue to do the things together that interested them before they were married, with not the triangle, with not that third person there, and then now the problem of a babysitter. So the honeymoon is quite short, and I'm sorry, but I like the honeymoon. And I don't want it to be here today and gone tomorrow. And I like somebody writing a little note and putting it in my purse and finding it, or under the door or whatever. I like all of this. I like somebody to think. It isn't a question what the person gives you, it's the thought behind it. And I think too many of them get too staid, and it becomes a routine. And I don't think it should. I think it's a pity to have something as beautiful as that could be if each one was worried about the other person and about trying to, well, play jokes together and, you know, have fun and have the same interests if you possibly can.
So you've celebrated your wedding anniversary by another wedding occasionally.
That's right.
I see. Here's a word about Stay Puff and Stay Flow. You remember them.
Oh, stay puffed and stay flow. And if you're just tuning in, that was a clip taken from a 1970 television interview of Gloria Swanson on The Dick Cavett Show. Now, just a note for any Janis Joplin fans out there, that television event also marked her final performance and interview on the TV screen.
And you're listening to The Ghost of Hollywood on KBOO 90.7 FM Portland. We're also streaming live everywhere from the radio website, so please check out kboo.fm if you get the chance. Now, where were we?
Well, we've been talking about the history of Billy Wilder's 1950 film, Sunset Boulevard, which would be his last work with the infamous Charles Brackett. After this, he and Brackett would never work together again. Still, following the release and major success of Sunset Boulevard, they were both sued for plagiarizing the screenplay, although two separate accounts of this claim were dismissed in court.
What began as a script hidden under the title A Can of Beans would go on to seek 11 Academy Award nominations, winning 3 of them. Sunset Boulevard has been described as the Hollywood nightmare, even though Mae Murray was quoted assuring that none of us floozies was that nuts.
And if you've never seen Sunset Boulevard, it's pretty easily found nowadays, after being given a facelift by Paramount around 17 years or so ago now. There's also a 1-hour radio program of Sunset Boulevard, recorded by Swanson and Holden in their same roles, that exists out there somewhere if you can track it down and listen to it.
Alright, that wraps things up here with our discussing of the 1950 Hollywood classic, Sunset Boulevard. Plenty of additional information that we weren't able to touch on here can be found from various resources, so please don't hesitate to do a little investigating for yourself. You never know what you're gonna find.
Alright, I'm Poxy Leonard here with Miss Ragan, and you're tuned in to KBO 90.7 FM, right here on Ghost of Hollywood, so don't turn that dial. Welcome back to the Ghost of Hollywood on KBOO 90.7 FM Portland.
And alas, the time has come to say so long.
Yep, and I'm exhausted, so that sounds like good news to me.
Oh, come on, Poxy, you're a big boy. You can handle it.
Look, I'm trying, okay? But I can't help it. I need a nap.
Don't we all need a nap?
Yeah, well... Anyway, that about wraps things up for us here. I'm your host, Poxy Leonard, alongside Miss Ragan, and we will be back with another brand new episode of The Ghost of Hollywood.
The Ghost of Hollywood is recorded at the Electric Garden Studio and broadcast live at KBOO Community Radio in Portland, Oregon. Direction provided by Zach Flannery. Writing and program development by Chris Klon, Reagan Flannery, and Zach Flannery. Samples developed by Jesse Garcia. Performances by Reagan Flannery and Zach Flannery. Coordination and communication by Mary Flannery.
For more information on The Ghost of Hollywood, please visit theghostofhollywoodpodcast.com. Copyright held by The Ghost of Hollywood in Electric Garden Studios in Portland, Oregon.